Hello, and welcome to Up Close and Personal with Anelia Benz. I'm your host, Helene Lipson. For our listeners not yet acquainted with Anelia, she was born in Chile and entered this world directly from source energy without any karmic debt, and she came into this life with a sense of knowingness on a pure mission. Her soul's purpose is to raise the vibrational level of the planet to a critical point that will allow a transitioning into the new paradigm, the new level of awareness for everything, for the planet and everything in it, every rock, every insect, every person. And to do that job, Anelia is a spiritual catalyst, awakening those asleep, helping those already aware to reach a higher vibrational level. And she's even traveled to different geographical areas in various ways for the sake of cleansing it so that the vibration can come through properly. Today on Up Close and Personal with Anelia Benz, we'll speak to Anelia about extraterrestrials and UFOs. We'll hear about her actual encounters with ETs, as well as her views about why they may be here and their connection to our human race. Hello, Anelia.
Hi, Helene. I hope you had a good holiday.
I did, and it's so nice to talk to you again. So we're talking a little bit about ETs. So tell me about some of the actual encounters with ETs that you've had during this lifetime.
The ET encounters, I suppose we could call them ETs. I'm not really sure whether they are extraterrestrial. They're definitely ultra-dimensional. And I think that is part of a lot of the contact that people have around the planet. There, a lot of people have ultra-dimensional contacts that will then, depending on their culture, will have different names. So, for example, I'm pretty sure that it's the same creatures that contact us or have interaction with us that in different cultures are called elves or pixies, fairies, ghosts, and all sorts of different things. But yeah, definitely, I'm very comfortable calling them extraterrestrial, even though at least one of them I'm thinking is probably more ultra-dimensional, but I'm not sure whether it's from this planet or from another planet.
So let me ask you, what exists out there that you know of, that you've personally experienced? Like, I'm thinking about Pleiadians, Arcturians, Syrians, and some of the other reptilians, Draco reptilians. Have you experienced any of these type of aliens, and where do they come from?
Yeah, funnily enough, there was an event we did here in Sacramento, I think last year, and a Palladian did arrive, but she was in human form. But from a very big distance, I could tell she was Palladian. And I think it was like a genetic kind of seeding that was happening here. And when I spoke to her, I immediately asked her if she was, and she said, yes, definitely, yeah, and she's like, yeah, that's a validation for what I already know. Her energy, her signature was completely different to the other people in the room. And it felt very much that she was more subtle in energy and that she wasn't from this planet. Now, with regards to my own personal contact with other entities, there were two little creatures that used to hang out with me when I was a child. And they used to look like probably 8 to 10-year-olds, and they had big heads. They were quite beautiful, but they didn't look quite human, as it were. And they would wear wigs and children's clothes. I think they used to wear those to make me feel that it was more normal, right? And they used to teach me a lot of stuff because I came here without a manual. I didn't know how things worked. So they would hang around and tell me about things and teach me about how things function. And after a certain amount of years, I'd stopped seeing them until I was in my 40s and I saw them once, and that was quite funny. And the other beings that I've been in contact with is very much how people relate contact, ET contact, it's more like a telepathic level or biolocational level where one goes into an altered state and then sees the whole communication happens elsewhere, but it's experienced in oneself like a telepathic communication. It's different to imagining things, because imagining things, well, everybody knows what, if you want to have a daydream or imagine something, how feels. And having a direct communication at a telepathic level feels completely different. It feels slightly altered 3D communication. It's like a slightly altered 3D communication. And so, yeah, I had contact with certain species in that way. One of them would be the Lemurians, who are not quite extraterrestrial, but they are ultradimensional. They coexist with us on this planet, but at a slightly different vibrational reality. And some contact with the Anunnaki. From what I could gather, there are two branches of them. One of them is very hostile towards the human species, and the other one really doesn't have any. Their kind of message is, it's nothing personal. It's just about profit, and they move forth and they move around the planet and everything. Some of them, again, they feel a sense of entitlement because a lot of our genetic material does come from them, or they altered it or whatever.
So you actually channeled their energy, like channeling it. You didn't see them in physical form?
Well, channel is something different. When you channel something, it's when you allow another entity or energy to go through your own physical body and speak with your mouth, right? And that did not happen. I don't allow any other entities to use my body. It's only source energy that I allow to come through.
Interesting.
So it wouldn't be channeling, no. It would be literally communication, but at a more subtle level.
Now, what was the message from the Lemurians?
They were very keen to collaborate with us as a species, and they still are, in making this transition, this jump in paradigm to be as big as it possibly can, and also to include as many of the human species members as possible. And they are working with hundreds, even thousands of people around the planet to accomplish this in different ways.
Interesting. And what about Atlanteans? I mean, you hear Lemuria and Atlantis. I'm trying to wrap my mind around the concept of Lemurians. The energy of the Lemurians are actually communicating with you.
I think it's literally physical individuals.
Okay.
They do exist. I mean, just like we don't exist in isolation in the physical plane, there's other humans around us. So are we not alone in ultradimensionally? There's other beings around us at different dimensions. And also extraterrestrial, there's other beings that come from different planets. So yeah, it's actually not an energy thing, but really individuals within those different collectives who get in touch.
Interesting. So they're not blood and bone beings on a 3D dimension.
Yeah, they may be blood and bone, but not at our physical dimension that we call the 3D now. They're more subtle. They're a slightly different dimension. Yeah, if you think of dimensions, for example, time-space is a dimension. So where you are sitting right now in your room or car or wherever you are that you're listening to this, that's a dimension. That's your local time-space. And somebody in a different country to you, so England, if you're not in England, or Australia, China, India, America, wherever all these locations are literally another dimension because they're in different time space. So we can't really see them with our physical eyes anymore, but we know they're there, and we can contact people from there all the time, right? Mm. And again, the telepathic thing is very simple. Is when it's happening. For example, you may think of somebody all of a sudden, and then your phone rings and it's them. Mm-hmm. That's telepathy. That's when that's telepathy, and that's true communication, the person was thinking about you, you immediately sensed it, and you had a form of telepathic communication.
Now, have you ever seen a spaceship or a UFO?
Yes, I have, 3 times now. One of them was when I was a teenager. I saw one flying over Heidelberg in Germany, which really surprised me because, they were highly militarized at the time, and this UFO was just hanging over this suburban estate. And then another time was right here in Sacramento, in my backyard. There was a UFO. When was it? I think it might have been 2010, which flew by and stopped for quite a while and then shut off very quickly. And yeah, that was right. I could see it from my backyard, but it was quite a ways away in the distance in the sky. And then when I went to the Iseti Ranch, there was 2 or 3 sightings. What was it? I can't remember. I think it was 2 sightings that night that I was able to experience as well. I saw them. But it's those were very far away as well, tiny little dots of light.
Do you have any idea what kind of creatures or what kind of beings were in these UFOs?
No, I have no idea.
This is an interesting time for us, Analia. People are evolving, people are changing. What role do ETs have, or what have ETs done to help us as a human collective to awaken and evolve?
The main thing that ETs have done is to send their souls or their beings to incarnate as human beings. For the past few generations, they've sent millions of people, individuals, to incarnate as human beings so that they can raise the human collective's vibration enough to make the shift a really good one. They are also, in a way, they would like to collaborate, and they're open to collaborate with us, but the biggest stumbling block that they have in order to collaborate is the human species still believing or being in the vibration of the savior, which is old paradigm. Many human beings are still praying to ETs to come and save them, or to come and save the planet, or to come and clean the planet, instead of taking full responsibility for it themselves and doing their own individual thing themselves. They're still doing that, and as long as they do that, the individual will never be able to have direct contact with ETs or be able to collaborate with ETs, because it's like the person is shutting the door all the time. In order for us to move into our galactic place, we need to take full responsibility and really see ourselves in our own abilities and capacities and what we can do, and then move into a level of collaboration rather than wanting to be helped or cooperate, which is different. There's no enabling us. There's only us collaborating, which is behaving and acting and doing things as equals.
Interesting. I know for myself, I think I would be a little afraid if I actually saw an ET or an alien. And I think many people probably feel like I do, which is maybe why we don't see so many of them. Is that true?
Yes. The basic people talk about, that this is going to happen at a governmental level or huge media thing where the ETs are going to appear on TV, and that's not quite right, because the exposure to ETs and ET technology is happening very, very slowly through sightings here and there, multiple sightings in other places being recorded, and it slowly, very slowly starts seeping into the human collective and into the main media, very, very slowly. This is because humans are afraid, and when you break somebody's reality like that, especially somebody who's really stuck in a reality where nothing else exists, it can kill them. It can destroy their entire reality, and people do die from that.
Really?
So it happens very, very slowly in that sense at a collective level, but at an individual level, what you can do is really process that fear, use the fear processing exercise, and process the fear of being contacted by ETs or seeing an ET or seeing a UFO. Really process that fear. Once you process that fear, you raise your own vibrational level. Once your vibrational level is high enough, then you can contact, basically contact happens at the vibration that you're at. So if you're in a very terrified state of fear, then the entities that you might communicate with, if you open yourself to communication, might be quite negative and fearful and very scary. Now, if you remove all your fear and open yourself to a higher vibrational communication, then the entities that you open yourself to communicate with, and again, it's always your choice, it's never imposed on you, will be high vibrational, and there's nothing to worry about.
I have a close friend who has felt that she was abducted by ETs and that a chip was put in her brain to track where she was. Do you have any knowledge of anything like this, or any experiences or friends or anyone who has said something similar? Do you think that this could be true?
Yes, it's probably true. Now, when we think of ETs, we're talking about more than 100 species out there around and in the planet right now. So, like what I was saying before, the contact that you happen to have with an ET race really depends on your own vibration.
Oh.
Right? So, yeah, if somebody's tracking her, it could be because they want to track her genetic material or her actions or whatever. I don't really know because I haven't had any personal contact with these beings that I can remember. But I have heard of different people that happen into different individuals, and people who have had the metallic, alien metallic matter or chips or whatever removed from their bodies, and they have them and analyzed, and there's material that's not from Earth. So yeah, I think there is enough objective evidence to say that this is happening.
Interesting. You bring up an interesting point a second ago, though, too. It's whatever the vibrational feeling tone or whatever vibrational frequency that you're on is going to be the type of entities that you're going to attract anyway.
Right. Yes. And that's not just ETs, that's everybody around you as well as human beings.
It's general law of attraction. Interesting,
Yeah.
but it also it extends to this topic. Now, on a closing note, is there anything else you'd like to share with our listeners about ETs or any of your personal encounters?
Yes, every contact that you can have, whether telepathic, physical, or whatever, does need your agreement. You're not a victim here, and you're not a passive kind of passenger. It has to have your agreement. You're completely empowered. You are a very powerful being. The type of contact that you want to have or not want to have is up to you, and it is at very deep level your own agreement. Even if the agreement comes through something like, we're more powerful than you and you have to come with us, and you become afraid and think that you have to listen to these people, that's your agreement. You agree that they're powerful and that you have to go with them. Or you can turn around at any time and say, no, I don't agree with that. That's not going to happen from here on. And so, yeah, there's no victims on this planet. It's impossible to have a victim in this planet. At a more positive note, also, we can move into an altered state, even just through deep breathing, and ask to have communication with high vibrational, ultra-dimensional beings or ETs, and just wait and see what happens. It's quite interesting.
Are there many ETs in human form walking around the earth? In other words, I've heard, and I even believe, that some people are star seeds and are here to almost raise the vibrational frequency of the planet too, but they came from other planets and they're just waiting to wake up, but they forgot who they were.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that's what I mentioned before when you asked what type of influence the ETs have had on the planet or what are they doing, is to send their own, what you said, like starseeds, their own people to incarnate as human beings. And there's millions have been born this way in the past few decades.
And they just forgot who they were or what their mission was when they got into this reality.
Yeah, most of them have. Although, if your hairs stand up on end when you listen to that, you're probably one, and uh,
Mm,
you do have some sort of memory about it.
incredible. Incredible information. And once again, thank you so much, Anelia, for sharing on Up Close and Personal with Anelia Benz. Thank you again to all our listeners as well. This is your host, Helene Lipson. Till we meet again, love, light, and blessings to all. Namaste.